You're listening to The Financial Outfitter, helping turn dreams into cherished memories. Sponsored by BPG Planning, purpose-based personal financial planning because it's about more than your money.
Welcome to the Financial Outfitter podcast, where we aim to inspire others to turn their dreams into cherished memories. We believe that the sporting lifestyle is the remedy. Its path is the prescription to many of the ailments that plague the human spirit in the modern world. So, thank you for listening, tuning in today, spending some of your most precious time with us. I'm your host, Brian Pitell. So today we're actually in studio. We're in the den, as we call it, with Erika Clemmer. Is that Clemmer?
It's okay.
Erika Clemmer, who has recently been promoted, or when did this happen?
Just this month.
Okay, recently promoted to National Program Manager for Casting for Recovery. So thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So I don't know that I know this. We probably talked about it at some point in time, but are you originally from the Pittsburgh area?
I grew up in the Lehigh Valley, and I moved out in Pittsburgh in 95 now to go to Duquesne for grad school and just never left.
Okay.
Been here ever since.
All right. So obviously we want to start off with maybe you could provide our listeners with kind of a framework of exactly what Casting for Recovery is, and maybe just a little bit of its history before we go into maybe some of the other details.
Sure. Right. So Casting for Recovery is a national nonprofit organization. We're a 501c3. We're based out of Bozeman, Montana, but we have programs that operate all across the country. We serve women from all 50 states at our retreats. And our mission is to provide healing outdoor retreats to women with breast cancer. It's a 2.5-day retreat experience. It's at no cost to them. Our goal is to provide them with a weekend, usually over a weekend they happen, opportunity to just get away from all the stresses of life and work and home and all the things that come with a breast cancer diagnosis, and just give them an opportunity to reconnect with nature, connect with other women that are going through breast cancer, and just find some fun and joy in life again. You know, breast cancer is such a serious thing, and people often forget there's still a lot of life left to live out there. And so we're providing them with this experience to just come out and let loose for a little bit, cut loose, I should say.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Probably both the camaraderie aspect of it and the actual activity of it.
Right. Right. And I meant to say too, I mean, we're teaching them the basics of fly fishing at our retreats. Our weekends are filled with wellness sessions with both medical oncologists, professionals, and psychosocial professionals who run support group sessions. So we're, addressing more of the breast cancer related needs, I guess you could say, offering that support. But then on top of that, we're teaching them the basics of fly fishing and just all the fun that comes with that and being outdoors. Yeah.
So how long has the program been active here in at least Western Pennsylvania?
Sure. So the Western Pennsylvania program started back in 2009. And actually one of our friends, our mutual friends, Bob Phillips from International Angler, was really instrumental in helping get that program up and running here in Western PA. The national organization, we actually started in Manchester, Vermont back in 1996. So we're coming up on 30 years now as an organization. And it just kind of grew out of a conversation of a breast reconstructive surgeon and a female angler who were talking about their passions and what they do, and they realized that gentle motion of fly casting is actually really good stretching and good therapy if you've had radiation or surgery as part of your breast cancer treatment.
Wow. Yeah.
And so they thought, we might be onto something here. Let's host a weekend retreat for ladies to come that are going through similar experiences, put them in beautiful settings and get them back outdoors because, that's so healing in and of itself, just being outdoors. And so it started, like I said, in Vermont about 30 years ago, and we've just kind of grown across the country. We actually have 45 teams across the country now, run by teams of local volunteers who host these retreats for the ladies. Um, this year, we're going to be hosting 60 retreats across the country. So it's
Wow.
our biggest retreat season ever.
Yeah, that's a lot of activity,
Yeah.
touching a lot of lives.
Hmm.
So, how many women might be at a typical retreat, or maybe that depends on the venue?
Yeah. So typically we take 14 women, and the way women come to us, they apply online at our website, castingforrecovery.org. There's a tab where you hit find retreat. And so she would apply to the retreat that's closest to where she lives. And we ask that of women that they apply to the one closest to them because they're going to be meeting women from their
Mm,
community. And we hope that they find a new support network, amongst each other. And after the retreat is done, they'll stay in touch and,
mhm.
be there for one another versus applying, say, if you live in Pittsburgh to one in Wyoming.
Yeah.
So, you apply online. All the applications go into the national office, and there's always an apply by date. And once that date has passed, the national office staff will do a random lottery drawing for 14 spots at each retreat. In addition to that, we'll draw another 20 applications to serve as alternates so that if any of the first 14 ladies have to cancel,
Hmm.
we have a pool of people to pull from to fill any vacancies. So,
So, we met probably what a little over a year ago
yeah.
at the film festival that International Angler Bob at International Angler sponsors,
Mhm.
and shortly after that, you and I got together, and you shared with me kind of how you got involved,
Yeah.
and maybe you could share that story with our listeners.
Sure. So I came to Casting for Recovery as a participant of a retreat through my own breast cancer journey. I was diagnosed back in 2012, and I was in my surgeon's office waiting to talk about next steps for me. And she had brochures in her office, and there was
Mm,
one of a woman holding a pink fly rod. And I thought, that sounds interesting. What's this about? And I knew that there was these things, these support groups out there that were available to me as I was going through all this, but I just didn't see myself. That just didn't feel like something I'd want to do. I just kind of wanted to deal with my doctors, deal with my family and friends for support, and just, keep on moving. I
mhm,
didn't want to sit and talk about it
mhm.
necessarily.
Yeah.
But then I saw this brochure about this like outdoor retreat experience for women with breast cancer, and I was intrigued. And so I went online and applied, and I kind of forgot about it that I had applied. And then a couple months later, I get this email from the national office saying, "Congratulations, you've been picked to go to the Western Pennsylvania retreat." And that year it was being hosted out at the beautiful Home Waters Club out on Spruce
Wow. Yeah.
Creek.
That's a
Yeah.
gorgeous place.
So got picked to go, and I thought, all right, I'm going to do this, see what happens, and went. And wow, I didn't know how much I needed that just to be with other women going through similar thoughts and feelings and worries with their breast cancer. But it was nice because we were all outdoors. We're learning something new. If you want to talk about your breast cancer, there's a safe space for you to do that with, supportive staff and other women going through similar things. But if you didn't want it, it was fine
Yeah.
too. And it just really made me realize the benefit of just connecting with other women going through similar things like that. And so I knew right away I wanted to get involved. I told the retreat leader at that time, I said, please let me know however I can help. And these retreats are all run by teams of local volunteers. And so, she told me go online and submit a volunteer application. We'll keep in touch. And then shortly, I'd say maybe about 6 months later, she reached out and asked if I'd want to help out because she needed to take a step back from volunteering for the time being and asked if I wanted to take over, overseeing the Western PA program. And I knew we had to keep this program going. It
Right.
was,
Absolutely.
very important. I had reached out to a fellow sister retreat participant, I should say, that I really connected with, Daisy Kapalka from Cabot, PA. Um, I said, do you want to run this with me? Because I don't know if I can do this all on my own. And so she and I, the following year, which would have been 2014, we began serving as the Western Pennsylvania co coordinators and retreat leaders for the program. So we did that for a couple years, and then in 2016, a job opportunity presented itself with a national office, and I thought, my gosh, if I could work for them too, that would be just amazing. So I applied and was hired in 2016 as a regional program manager, and I supported a lot of our programs here on the East Coast, Midwest area.
Mm-hmm.
And then just this year, the opportunity, actually last year, our previous region, or I'm sorry, our previous national program director, Susan Gates, who lives in Austin, Texas, she was actually promoted to executive director for the organization last July, I think it was. And so I stepped in as interim national program director for
Mm-hmm.
a time being. And then just this past month, they offered it to me permanently. So I
Wow.
gladly
Yeah.
accepted.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, are you going to be tasked with traveling?
I'll go wherever they need me to go for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
lot of behind the scenes support. I'm, doing a lot on the computer and on phones, doing a lot of virtual trainings with folks. But if they need me to come out to their retreats to help or run a training, I'll absolutely be there. Plus, just getting out and spreading the word about who we are and what we do.
Mm-hmm. So, you found out about it as a result of a brochure,
Hmm.
right? So it almost seems like somewhat chance, right? Some degree of chance, right?
Yeah.
So, are you proactively advertising the program? What other channels are there for women to discover
Yeah.
the program?
I'd say locally, our past retreat alums are
Mm,
probably our biggest cheerleaders. They
right.
go through the retreat, they're so energized by it. They go back and they tell their friends, other women that maybe they know from support groups. They tell their treatment teams, their doctors and nurses about it. And so, and we always arm all of them with brochures to take back to folks to help us get the word out. Our local volunteers go out and reach out to their folks that they have connections with to make sure to get the word out. Opportunities like what Bob does definitely helps us get the word
Yeah.
out with fundraiser events like the film tour. And then at the national level, I mean, we have a really beautiful, robust website, really strong social media, a beautiful Facebook page and Instagram, all the social venues. Um, no commercials yet or anything like
No.
that.
Well, if you have more applicants, right, than you can actually handle now, you probably don't need a
Right,
whole lot more advertising.
right.
What would it take to scale it? Is that something that could be in the Casting for Recovery's future?
Yeah, I mean, what we need is because these retreats are hosted by teams of local volunteers. That's where if there's a area that we don't have a retreat in or a need out there that an underserved area that we want to try and grow a program in or grow a retreat at.
Mhm.
um, it starts with finding those local volunteers who are able to commit to the time and bandwidth of
Yeah.
organizing a retreat, finding a venue that's appropriate. They all fundraise locally to cover the costs of the retreat so that it's free for the participants to attend. So, hosting events and raising money.
So if you have 35, did you say? Something like 35 programs across the country?
There's 45 retreat programs right now.
Okay. So not one in every state.
No.
Some states have more than one.
Yes.
So there's some holes in the map,
Right.
right? So with Western Pennsylvania, let's just say from State College to the state line here,
Mhm.
how many programs? One?
Oh, we just have one.
Yeah.
So in the state of Pennsylvania, we have two like sub programs, I guess you could call them. There's the Western PA program that serves mostly women from the western side of the state. And then there is an Eastern PA program that hosts a retreat at Skytop Lodge in the Poconos. And they serve women more on the East Coast.
Yeah.
But truly, we encourage, for those states that we don't have a retreat in, like, for example, Illinois, we don't currently have a program in Illinois. Um, if there's a woman that finds out about us who lives in Illinois, she can still apply to whatever neighboring state or program is
Yeah.
closest to her. So we really do serve women from all states. It's just they might have to travel a little bit to get to their closest. retreat.
There's a chance maybe no one knows how to fly fish in that state either. I came to the sport pretty late in life.
Hmm.
Probably only been fly fishing for like 4 years, and I can definitely say from personal experience, I there is a therapeutic aspect to it.
Yeah.
So I could see where, you know, not only is the sense of community a big benefit, but yeah, the activity is quite therapeutic.
Oh, yeah.
You said that you were at Spruce,
Hmm.
right? So that's a pretty nice venue.
Beautiful.
Um, what other places have you been? Have you had events here in
Yeah.
Pennsylvania?
Before I came to the event out at Home Waters, I know the previous years they had been out to Nemacolin to
Mhm.
host a retreat. After Home Waters, we had tried a venue out in Everett, PA called River Mountain.
Don't know that one.
Really, really nice, very cool space. We went there for a year and then we moved to, actually, this past year, we were up at IUP, Indiana, PA, and fished out on
Yellow
Yellow
Creek.
Tree Trout Club,
Yeah,
which that was beautiful.
yeah,
And now this year, we're going to move the retreat out to Seven Springs for the lodging and then hopefully fish at Laurel Hill
yeah.
if the weather agrees.
You're right.
If not, then we'll fish over on the lake, on Lake Gosling.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
that's nice though that you have that venue gives you a backup plan.
Hmm.
If the water's not cooperating, you have a place where weather isn't quite as much of a factor.
Right.
So, what do obviously you have a unique perspective being the national program director. Where do you see this program going in the next 3 to 5 years?
Hopefully, we can serve more women. We don't have to turn away so many applicants. I hope that we can find more teams of volunteers that, want to start up a retreat closer in their area so we can start serving more women. We do have several programs, actually 6 programs out there across the country right now that have started hosting a metastatic specific retreat. So this is for women with breast cancer that has metastasized somewhere else in their body.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a unique group of women with breast cancer. They have very unique needs and worries and concerns, very different than somebody that's like early on in
Mm-hmm.
their diagnosis, or maybe they caught it really early and it's super treatable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's not many programs out there that are specifically for women with metastatic breast cancer. And so we started offering a retreat specifically for these women and much smaller. We usually take only 8 or 10 women at those retreats. They're far more, I don't know what the word is. They're definitely needed. Like I said, there's not many opportunities for these women to gather. And I can say in my experience at retreats, if so, let me back up a little bit. So at retreats, at our general retreats, at general casting for recovery retreats,
Mm-hmm.
we accept women of any age and any stage of breast cancer. So you could be stage 0, stage 1, you could be stage 4 metastatic. You would be eligible as
Mm-hmm.
long as you have a breast cancer diagnosis. Um, we find, though, too, that oftentimes having such a diverse group of women coming from all stages of their cancer journey, oftentimes those that are more advanced in their cancer are reluctant to open up and share with those that are earlier stage because they don't want to scare them.
Interesting.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, oh my gosh, is this going to be me? And same thing with the ones that are earlier on in their diagnosis, too. I think they might feel a little bit of like survivor's guilt in a way, like, wow, I'm not that sick, but
Yeah.
still, at the end of the day, when you hear you have breast cancer, it's equally as scary and startling. And so, we want to provide an opportunity for women to share their experiences and, inspire hope in one another. No matter what stage they're in, they're still today, and we're here together, and we're learning something new, and we're having fun, and we're being present in the moment out on the water
Mm-hmm.
catching fish. So I guess that was a long roundabout way of telling you where I hope I see, casting for recovery heading in the next few years. But I would love to see our program be able to host more of these metastatic specific retreats for
Mm-hmm.
these women because the feedback that we get from them is like, thank you for giving us this space to like be brutally honest and talk openly and not worry about scaring others
Mm,
and, you know,
right,
just sharing where we're at,
right.
you know.
So, but you use an important word there, and that's inspire.
Mhm.
And that's a big driver for this podcast, right? We hope to inspire other people to, you know, come and discover Casting for Recovery, and we hope to inspire people to get behind the program. So, and of course, the title of the podcast is The Financial Outfitter. So let's put a couple numbers to this, maybe, meaning what does it cost? What would it cost, or let's just use Pennsylvania,
Mhm.
right? Because it's geographically and economically relevant,
Mhm.
for us. So what did that weekend cost?
Yeah, again, it really just depends on the venue. I mean, what we would spend at, say, Home Waters would be very different than, you know,
Okay,
renting accommodations up at IUP's campus.
sure,
So
sure,
it really varies. And it's kind of that way across the country, too. I mean, depends on what's available. You know, we have some programs out there that are hosting retreats at, you know, really fancy, exclusive fly fishing
right.
resorts that clearly are going to cost a lot more. And then we have other ones that host them at, you know, modest hotels, and they're caravanning over to a community park that has a stream and fish. And
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, it's the whole experience and just bringing women together. It's is equally as magical no matter where you host a retreat.
So that can be a pretty wide range of
Mhm.
expenses,
Yeah.
right? I know that it costs me nothing to fish my local stream, and I have a pretty good idea what it costs to fish spruce.
Yeah.
That's night and day, right?
Yeah.
So how do you budget for that?
Right. I mean, we really look at where we're going to be hosting a retreat the coming year, especially like with Western PA. We've kind of moved around a lot just
Mm-hmm.
to see what fits for us and see what works. So we kind of look and see what did we spend last year, you know, on meals, on lodging, you know, other things that supplies that we might need for the weekend, and just kind of forecast that out. And thankfully, you know, we've been blessed with a lot of wonderful supporters locally. We've done a lot of fun local fundraisers events, so we've been able to raise money, you know, to cover the costs for these retreats, and kind of know that we've got enough to make sure we've got things covered for the upcoming year.
Yeah, I guess that was my next question was
Yeah.
when you're fundraising, are you year to year, or you have
We have
you
reserves
yeah, you have
that,
some reserves?
yeah.
Mm, yeah,
Hmm.
that's good.
But then we definitely have other programs out there across the country, you know, just working with, the, you know, in my role as national, that other programs do, you know, more year to year to
Mm-hmm.
cover their expenses. And again, I think it's a lot of it is dependent on the volunteer team, their bandwidth and availability to get out there and fundraise because, you know, they're volunteers. So a lot of them have jobs that they're doing during the day and other commitments, family and such. So they get to Casting for Recovery, you know, as they can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So earlier you had mentioned some of the therapeutic benefits of the action of casting a fly rod, and being, just being outside. So do you measure that in any way? Do you have do you track that in some way?
Yeah, I would say more so. There's definitely research studies out there that focuses on the benefits of nature and being outdoors.
Mhm.
Actually, you know, I brought a few things here. I mean, one study found that women who were exposed to natural views experience less attention fatigue even 3 months after surgery. Another found that women who were newly diagnosed with breast cancer who experienced at least 2 hours of nature experience a week, be it gardening, spending time outdoors, taking a walk, showed significant improvement in in their directed attention, or meaning like their ability to focus and concentrate. Because so often with women with breast cancer, especially if they're going through chemo, you know, you'll hear some women talk about chemo brain or chemo fog.
Mm.
Just kind of makes things really foggy and hard to pay attention to things. And so they're finding research is showing like just being outdoors can help with that. Um, and really, too, you can see that there's like decreases in lowering blood pressure, glucose levels, pulse rates. I mean, just from medically that standpoint, definitely an increase in immune functioning, just being outdoors, and quicker recovery too from surgery, just being outdoors and out in nature, and not only medically, but also just mentally and emotionally. I mean, like I said, hearing you have a breast cancer diagnosis is a really scary, anxiety provoking, can be depressing type of thing. And so getting outdoors, there's research that shows that it definitely decreases some of those symptoms.
I think I remember at one point, and I'm not sure if it was similar organization talking about the exposure to nature being able to help reduce cortisol levels,
Mm.
and all, balancing your hormones, right?
Mhm.
When whatever kind, whether you're a man or a woman, it doesn't really matter. And having that balance can only help speed recovery,
Right.
right?
Right. And I can tell you too, like just from some of the things that we do measure with Casting for Recovery, after our retreats are done, every participant will receive a email with a post-retreat survey where they give us feedback on,
Hmm.
what did you think? What did you like? How can we improve? We ask them, a variety of questions. And just in looking at this past year, boiling it all down for all the retreats that we had last year and just kind of compressing the data on that, 99% of the women that attended a retreat last year said that they felt that they had a sense of empowerment, whether it came from learning to fly fish, learning more about living with breast cancer, or just learning that they're not alone. 99% also felt that they were able to connect or reconnect with nature at their retreat, and they were inspired to continue with more outdoor activity once they got back home. And also 98% felt that by connecting with peers and the CFR volunteers at their retreats, that they definitely felt they improved their support base.
Hmm.
So I feel like we're on to something.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
You couldn't possibly watch the film that Casting for Recovery produced, uh, was shown at the film festival, and not be moved by that. I
Mm.
mean, you'd have to be lacking a pulse, and I think that's it's motivating for people that are looking to get involved and contribute. So aside from simply going to the film festival, uh, what other ways can anyone make a contribution?
Sure. Yeah, there's lots of ways to get involved. So definitely, if you know a woman who has breast cancer in your life, family, friend, coworker, neighbor, wherever, please, please tell them about us and encourage them to apply. Just help us be that word of mouth, that advertising, that, getting the word about what we do. Also, too, if you're interested in volunteering, if you visit our website, which is castingforrecovery.org, you can go to ways to help on our website, and you can see the various ways that you can get involved. If
Hmm.
you want to join one of our retreats as a fly fishing instructor, or if you're a wellness professional, have experience working with women with breast cancer, either as an oncologist or a social worker, want to join our staff that hosts the retreats, or there's a variety of different positions that people can volunteer for and get involved. um, and then too, just making donations as well. If it's, a one-time donation, a monthly recurring donation, working through a donor advised fund or estate planning,
Mhm.
putting CFR in that. Um, yeah, there's so many ways to get involved and to support. And, you can certainly support here locally. You can specify that you would like your support to go to the Western Pennsylvania program to support more women from our area to attend a retreat here with the Western PA team. Or if you want to make a bigger impact and, give to the national organization, and your support will be used wherever is needed most.
Got you. Yeah.
Variety of ways to help.
Are there any activities or anything happening on the horizon that you would want folks to be aware of?
Our team will take a look at, possibly organizing. We've done in the past a really fun fundraiser event called Fish Tales and Ales.
Okay.
It's a evening of fun, and usually we have some music, entertainment, food, beverages, raffle, auction prizes, and all supporting the local Western PA program. We don't have dates or locations set for that, but I'll certainly make sure that you guys know when that's going to
Absolutely.
happen if you
Yeah.
want to join us. Um, and then to our other big fundraiser every year has been with Bob at International Angler doing the film tour. That's usually in early spring, right before trout season
Yeah.
kicks off,
Right.
and everybody's ready to get out there and fish. He'll bring it usually out to the Oaks Theater. So I don't think he has dates yet for next year, but
No.
definitely join us for that. There are some other, friends of ours out there that, ways to get involved. If you're out at the Orvis Pittsburgh store out in the Galleria Mall down in Mount Lebanon,
Mm-hmm.
for the month of May, they're doing a give back to Casting for Recovery Western PA, where for a $10 donation to the organization, you'll get 10% discount on purchases in store for things like apparel, their dog wear line,
Mm-hmm.
dog
Yeah.
treats and stuff. Also flies, fly lines, those sorts of things. Rods and reels are excluded on that, but yeah, lots of great stuff in the store for the month of May. And then too, in June, so there's a gentleman by the name of Lance Perry Snyder. He was from O'Hara Township here in Western PA, and sadly, he died back in 2012 at the age of 30 due to cancer. And so he was a big avid fly fisherman and met Casting for Recovery while we were set up at, we had a table set up at a fly fishing expo, and he came by and met us and learned about what we do. And he just loved it. And we had these pink, fluffy fly pins that you could put on your hat. And so he bought some for all the ladies in his family. And after he passed, his family was like, we got to do something
Mm-hmm.
in honor of him and his memory, and so they organized this charity golf outing every year out at Birdsfoot Golf
Yeah.
Course out in Freeport, PA. This will now be their 12th year doing it, and they raised so far over $100,000 with their golf outing over the years, and they give to charities that would have meant something to Lance. And Casting for Recovery has been one of the beneficiaries of that, and so we like to help spread the word about that event in case there's any golfers out there that want to get involved. This year it's going to be June 1st out at Birdsfoot, so I can certainly share a link if you're interested
Yeah.
in sharing
Absolutely.
that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, all just different ways to make new friends and spread the word about CFR so people know.
So, a lot of great stuff. A lot of great stuff. And with the demand for the program being as high as it is, uh, when you're probably not taking people now for next year,
Mm.
right? That wouldn't be how that worked or works. So how does that work?
Right. So we haven't even set dates for next year yet. Usually, like right after the current year's retreat, once that's done, we'll decide, are we going to stay at this venue or do we want to move somewhere else? Um, we'll take a look at staff availability. And then once we iron out a date, we'll give that date to the national office. They maintain a calendar for all the coming year. And then usually towards the end, so at Casting for Recovery National, like our retreat season runs from usually like early April clear
Mhm.
through the like early November. We have
Oh,
retreats
wow.
happening that entire time across the country. So in order to keep things a little less confusing, they wait until like closer to the end of the
Right.
current
Makes
season
sense.
to post the upcoming year's events details and start accepting applications for next year. So I'd say like in November of
Hmm.
this year, we'll have up on the website the dates for next year, location, and women can start to apply.
Okay.
And then usually the apply by date, like the cutoff to apply for a retreat, is usually about 10 weeks prior to the actual retreat weekend. So, say, like for here, May 17th is our retreat. So, they probably stopped accepting applications. I can't remember the date exactly, but it
Yeah.
would have been like
Yeah.
back in March, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah. So stay tuned. Later this year, we'll have
Yeah. All
dates
right.
out.
So I had mentioned that I kind of came to fly fishing like late in life. I think I was maybe 48, and the truth is that I was probably a little intimidated by it. It was just I didn't really have any real exposure to it. I did it now and then, but nothing serious. And I made the trip to International Angler, and those guys couldn't have been nicer, And Bob has been. I mean, I almost would think of him like as a Pittsburgh pillar of fly fishing because
Yeah.
he's just been in it for, I don't know, 30 years, I'm guessing. But the shop has been great to me. I've taken a lot of people there, and it was kind of through the shop that I learned about the film festival.
Okay.
And of course, that's where we initially met. And that film festival, for people that have never seen it, it's a pretty cool thing because you get a front row seat to fly fishing in different venues all over the world in a 2-hour period.
Mhm.
And the venue is fantastic. That Oaks
Yeah.
Theater, the way they did it, it's an intimate setting. It gives you Casting for Recovery uh, a nice way to engage with the people coming in there.
Mhm.
And I always appreciate the fact that you can just get up from your seat, turn around, and get a drink. So,
Right.
um, and really, I would love to see that venue sold out.
Mhm.
So I think that's going to be one of our objectives to work with our listeners and work with Bob and work with you to sell that venue out. But maybe you could shed a little bit of light of maybe how that relationship started between Casting for Recovery and International Angler.
Yeah. So, like I said, the Western PA program started back in 2009, and I know Bob was instrumental in that. And I believe the previous retreat leader slash co-coordinator, Lori Perkins, that's who was the retreat leader the year I went through the program. She too was a past participant of a retreat of Casting for Recovery and decided, like, we got to make this happen here in Western PA. And so she, along with other folks from the area, including Bob, which I think Lori and Bob had a connection there. I'm not quite sure what the connection was, how that all came to be. And again, that was before my time,
Mhm.
coming to Casting for Recovery, having just come in 2012. um, so yeah, so Bob's always been a part of Casting for Recovery. He also helps out on our fishing day of our retreat. He had been the coordinator that brings all of the guides together to get paired up with the ladies when they go fish. And so this film tour, it's put on by Costa. It's been, I think, 18 years now that they've put
Mhm.
this film out there. If you visit their website, which is flyfilmtour.com,
Yeah.
you can visit their website and see where all it's scheduled to be run across the country. And so Bob would, reach out to Costa and see about hosting an event here in Pittsburgh and make that into a fundraiser to benefit Casting for Recovery. So once,
Gotcha.
covering the cost of running the venue and everything, proceeds then come back to Casting for Recovery, Western PA. And it's been a lot of fun. Like I said, he always times it right before trout season, so everybody's super pumped
Yeah.
to see the films. And they're a really cool collection of films. I mean, as you've seen,
They are.
all over the country,
Absolutely.
all over the world. It's amazing what you can catch on a fly rod.
Well, and they all have a really, there's always a theme or a very interesting backstory to each of them. So it's
Right,
not just fishing,
right.
which I find fascinating.
A lot of great messaging around like conservation and just getting more people involved with the
Right.
sport that maybe might not before.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. So I hope we can fill it next year. I think the weather beat us this year, and that's why we had
Yeah.
a lot of seats that.
It's one of the few times you say it's too nice of a day.
Yeah.
People don't want to be inside.
Right.
So we're pushing last light here at the Den. So I'd like to thank you for spending some of your most precious asset with us today, and that is your time. before we kind of close down, any final thoughts or anything that you would want to share with the folks tuning in?
Well, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to come and talk with you and your listeners about casting for recovery. I'm glad you stopped by and visited me at the table at the film tour last year, and we got to connect and continue our friendship here. And so, yeah, please, I guess the thing I could say the most is please just help us spread the word and, share with more women about casting for recovery. And I know if they apply and come to a retreat, they'll love it. So thank you again.
You're welcome. And we definitely will work hard at doing that.
Thanks.
So, why is the most important and powerful question I think that you can ask someone. And for the financial outfitter, our why is to inspire people to take the next step. So we have 3 channels of content. One is folks that have interesting adventures to hopefully inspire people. The other one is for those individuals who've taken their passion and turned it into a career or business. And actually, you've done that, right? So it's kind of a twofer because our last piece of it is charity. So what we really hope that folks will do is listen to this message and be inspired to research casting for recovery and get involved somehow, right? However it is that they might be able to. And we definitely here at the Financial Outfitter look to continue and increase the level of our support, particularly for next year's event. So looking forward to that. The best way for people to reach you is obviously, I would say, the website.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is castingforrecovery.org.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
And of course, we want to encourage people to check us out at thefinancialoutfitter.com. Do all the social media liking, and know when you subscribe to the podcast and become a member, you're becoming a member of the pack, not the herd.
Our mission is to promote new connections in the sporting community by bringing awareness to opportunities and issues that impact our lifestyle, challenge members to think critically about their role in the modern world, and help others to turn dreams into cherished memories. This episode is sponsored by BPG Planning, purpose-based personal financial planning because it's about more than your money.